this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the new Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga 13. And it's already created a new verb for us here. We talk about yogaing, which means doing this. Windows 8 notebook has a 180-degree hinge, so you can use it like so. It disables the keyboard when you put it in that position, so you don't have to worry about the fact that you're touching the keyboard. And if you put it on the desk for presentation mode, just for reading, for surfing, that kind of thing, and you can put it completely flat and just use it like a big old tablet PC. Obviously, it's running Windows 8 right here, and inside it's Intel, so it's basically an Ultrabook, a lot like the Lenovo U310. You've got a Core i5 ULV CPU in here, 4 gigs of RAM, an SSD drive, everything you need to actually get work done too. We're going to look at it now. Well, this is something you don't see every day, and that's what makes the Yoga 13 one of the most interesting and eye-catching new Ultrabooks, or Ultrabook/tablets with Windows 8 Pro's release. When I say Windows 8 Pro, that means this is not like the Surface RT we recently reviewed. This runs Intel applications, this runs all your legacy Windows 7 applications, and it does everything a notebook can do as well. But you do get the Metro UI, obviously you can see over here. And instead of going with the standard center swivel hinge that we saw on tablet PCs of old, where you could swivel the whole thing, drop it flat if you want, do whatever you want with it, this has two conventional hinges, but they rotate at 180 degrees. Now, probably, well, I wouldn't say for sure though, you're not going to use it like this. You could prop this up on your table and say you just want to surf the web or watch a movie or something, that you could do that, which makes it very versatile. If you want to use it flat, just like a tablet, there it is, it's flat. It's a gorgeous looking piece of hardware too. It looks a lot like the Lenovo U310 IdeaPad model Ultrabook, only a little bit thinner. And here's the freaky thing. Look at that, there's your keyboard, nothing else. But whenever you swivel it beyond the normal laptop position, the keyboard and trackpad are disabled, so you don't have to worry about touching it. However, for durability's sake, you want to be careful of your keyboard. It's going to be against your lap, don't smash it down on the desk, that kind of thing. That's my only point of concern, where I still think the center swivel hinge makes the most sense, as novel as this is. Still a more practical product than the Asus Tai Chi, which actually has two displays, one where you inspect it and one on the back lid instead. Makes it more vulnerable, increases the cost, and I kind of wonder why most people would ever want that. At least with this one, I can certainly see a use case. Now, something more useful would be, also, you say you want to put it down on your table, you really don't want to use a keyboard again, you're just consuming content, you're watching a video, something like that. And there it is, self-standing, very stable, big enough platform that if you want to put it on your legs, it's going to be there and be stable and be fine. It's a beautiful screen we have here. This is a 1600 by 900 IPS display with good brightness, nice clarity, very wide viewing angles. Lenovo is smart. If you're going to put money into one thing, it's going to be the display because, well, Metro certainly, or the modern UI as it's now called, looks really stunning and beautiful, and having a display that shows it off is going to really improve that experience. And if we want to put it back in normal notebook mode, we just pop it down. Very stiff, very strong hinges here. I'm not too worried about those giving in anytime too soon. And we just close it. It takes a good deal of force. And you can see here's our air vents back here. And there you have it. Suddenly you have a normal $999 Ultrabook. So it's quite versatile in that respect. You can use it just like a tablet, you can use it just like an Ultrabook. And as an Ultrabook, it has Intel Core i5 1.7 GHz ULV CPU. That's your standard Ultrabook CPU that we've seen in a lot of Ultrabooks so far this year. 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM and a 128 gig SSD drive. Now you can also order this with a Core i7 or the 256 gig SSD, and there's even a Core i3 model. I really wouldn't recommend the Core i3 because that's noticeably slower than the Core i5 and Core i7 ULV CPUs that are available. It has single band Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, and that's Realtek, not Intel, so there's no WiDi here. I do wish it was dual band, that's a shame. We have Bluetooth on board as well. Front 1 megapixel webcam up here for 720p video chat. You can use it with Skype, of course. Microsoft now owns Skype. Skype is a go on Windows 8. And pretty much so is everything else too, because this, again, is a regular Intel machine running full Windows 8 Pro, just like the Toshiba Satellite S955 that we looked at not too long ago. So you've got all of your Metro apps over here and all their goodness and prettiness. And if you go to desktop right here, here's your standard Windows desktop that you're used to, just with flatter UI effects. Instead of all the chrome and glassy look around everything, everything's kind of flat. So yes, You can install all of your applications on here. You can install full MS Office on here. You can see we have ran PC Mark 7 installed that. That's a standard Windows exe file. And we've even got Left 4 Dead 2 installed so you can see how it plays games. So yes, everything you can do with a Windows 7 machine, you can do with this as well. Given its kind of hybrid nature as both a 13.3-inch Ultrabook and as a tablet, we have a couple of new design elements here. We've got the little center button that's standard for Windows 8 touchscreen devices, and that brings you right back to the Metro UI, the home screen, again, now called the modern UI. And we have the standard keyboard up here with volume controls and brightness controls, all that stuff on your FN row that you would expect. You don't, by default, have to hit the FN key to activate those. But on the side, we've also got some more controls here. We have volume controls on the side, just like you would find on a tablet that doesn't have a keyboard attached. So if you happen to have it folded flat and the keyboard is disabled, then you can go ahead and use this for your volume control. And the power button, instead of being somewhere on the keyboard deck, is right here. And your Lenovo One Key Recovery is right over here in case you run into trouble and you need to do some kind of system restore stuff. And on this side we have a rotation lock button. So controls on the side to make it easy to use as a tablet, since you obviously are not going to have access to the keyboard when it's folded any other way but conventional laptop mode. Now take a look on the side. We have the newer style Lenovo power connector, kind of rectangular in yellow, USB port right here, SD card slot. And on this side we have USB 3.0 port, full-size HDMI, and our 3.5mm audio jack. And the power adapter comes with plenty of cords, a nice compact power adapter, again with Lenovo's new style rectangular connector. The laptop has a 4-cell battery, and Lenovo claims up to 8 hours of use time on a charge, which would be wildly impressive. We're still doing battery tests on this, so check out our full written review to see how that goes. But certainly if it goes up to 6, and that's a pretty strong showing right there, up there with other Ultrabooks, and I would expect that we're going to get at least 6 out of it. We take a look at the keyboard. It's typical Lenovo Island-style IdeaPad keyboard. Lovely keyboard, nice tactile feedback, a decent amount of travel on here. Certainly a typist dream, very nice. The only thing is no backlighting, bummer. Large Synaptics multi-touch trackpad here, supports all the Windows 8 gestures. Of course, you can also just touch the screen and use the screen, so you don't really have to rely on that unless you don't feel like taking your hand away from the keyboard deck to do something up there in the top UI. You can see the keyboard has some relief to the keys, some reasonable height. And the palm rest area, it feels kind of slightly rubbery and neat. It's a very nice texture here, very grippy, feels good. Doesn't show a whole lot of fingerprints, and if we close it, it looks like, again, like a skinny U310 with the sandwich or book design. Contrasting black around the edges, silver here. It's also available in that really cool orange that Lenovo offers. And on the back you can see robust hinges, lots of air vents. And the bottom, pretty simple design, not really designed to be opened up. There are some Torx screws if you're feeling adventurous about it. We've got our rubber feet here to help keep it stable and solid. So a nice looking machine overall. High quality materials, good fit and finish, typical of Lenovo, and something we would like to see for a machine that costs $1,000. So as a standard notebook computer, this is more than capable the way any Ultrabook would be with a Core i5 ULV CPU. It's certainly strong enough to handle Office, some moderate Photoshop work, email, social networking, all those things you have to do. Not a serious HD video editing machine, strong enough with Intel HD 4000 integrated graphics to play 1080p video. Obviously 1080p would exceed the internal display resolution, but it does have HDMI out for those of you who want to output to a HD monitor or to a TV. Multi-touch touchscreen is very responsive, very easy to use, no complaints there, as good as any tablet, and you can also use the trackpad to do the same thing, and you've got the pinch zoom gestures here on the trackpad just as you would on the screen. So again, versatility there, and for those of you who just really want to get to work using your regular Windows desktop, there it is. As usual, we have IE. We have two slightly different representations of IE here. We have IE 10 both places, but this is your standard IE that you're used to seeing with Well, menu bar, the obvious tabbed interface, all the settings you would expect, and yes, you can change your default search setting to Google if you want, if you go into your add-in settings. And you can run multiple windows, lots of apps running around. Nothing different here than you're used to seeing on Windows 7, honestly, other than the fact that the start menu is gone. Instead, you can either bring it up by swiping from here, or just hitting the Windows plus Q key, and this brings up all of your applications that are installed. And for those of you who just can't take the lack of the start menu, there are add-ons by third parties that are ready to bring that back, but this actually works pretty well. And you've got access to everything that you would expect to have. The machine scores a healthy 4427 in PC Mark 7, the latest version of PC Mark's benchmark. Usually Ultrabooks with SSD drives do pretty well there, so that's par for the course. And you can see our Windows Experience Index here. Yes, that still does exist even in Windows 8, and for processor, we get a 6.9, for memory 5.9, for desktop graphics we have 4.7, 3D graphics 6.2, and the SSD scores a 7.4, and again 7.9 is the highest possible score right now. So pretty powerful machine as Ultrabooks go. So here we are testing out gaming, regular standard Windows 7 Left 4 Dead 2 game. We're running at 1600 by 900 resolution. It's native resolution, anti-aliasing off, and we've got debug turned on so you can see our frame rate here. It's doing just fine. And now we'll zoom in for a little action. So this is a game that's visually very pleasing, but it's actually pretty friendly to not super duper 3D dedicated graphics enabled devices. So we're seeing good frame rates here, going from the 40s to the 60s. Shooting a lot of zombies, we drop down to the 30 squad, go back up to the 40s. So it's playing just fine. So no problem if you want to play some games on this. Again, you know, don't expect Battlefield 3 to play well on this. This does not have dedicated graphics, but just in general to show you, yes, Windows 7 applications run just fine on here, including more practical things like Office and Photoshop. So that's Left 4 Dead 2 on Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga 13. So now that we've looked at the traditional things that you can do with this, using it just the way you would a Windows 7 machine, let's take a look at the stuff that you can do with Metro, and we'll put it in yoga position to do that. This machine weighs 3.4 pounds, so it's not something that you're going to be carrying on your arm, say, the way you would MS Surface. And to give you an idea, we're going to compare the Surface RT to the 13.3-inch ThinkPad Yoga. So for those of you who are wondering, why would you want a little Surface RT machine? Well, look at the difference in size right here. Surface RT is like your iPad or your 10-inch Android tablet. It's much smaller, it's more portable, 10.6 inches, also weighs less, is 1.5 pounds. This is something that you don't mind holding on to for a while. Different kind of machine. Of course, the Surface RT doesn't run EXE applications made for Windows 7. It just runs these new modern UI apps, these live tile applications. So a little bit of a limitation there. Different products for different folks. And if you haven't already watched our Surface RT video review, you go ahead and please do so you can learn what this is all about. So this is the live tile or modern UI interface that you perhaps are already growing familiar with if you've watched some of our other video reviews. We've got IE10 again here. Now the difference with IE10 here is it runs full screen mode. You still have things like tabs if you swipe down, or you can use a trackpad to do that. See, here are different tabs right there. But a limited access to settings. Still visually easy to use and appealing, no problem there. And if you want to actually go to a website, we're going to use the on-screen keyboard. This is what you do if you have your yogaized with the keyboard back and underneath. You use this very pleasant on-screen keyboard. And here we've loaded our own website. Now regardless of which browser you use, you got Adobe Flash on board, and this is IE10, so all the rendering that you would expect and compatibility are here. Works just fine. And we'll test out a streaming video review so you can see. We'll check out our Surface RT video review. Good speed, great pinch zooming. Super fast boot times on this, by the way, very fast. No lag in any of the modern UI apps. Certainly normal behavior also for the standard Windows applications. So we expect the best here. And we'll bring that up to 720p. And notice those speakers. This says Dolby 3 audio. Nice and loud, very pleasing. So there we are, streaming at 720p over Wi-Fi, looking great. Beautiful IPS screen. And one thing to note here is Adobe Flash Player controls are not a little bulky or difficult to work with because this is real IE here compared to Android tablets where sometimes actually using Adobe Flash can be a little torturous when it comes to the controls. And whenever you want to go back home, you've got the little button at the bottom that just takes you right back into your UI here. And we've got the standard music and video players. Since this also has the full implementation of Windows in it, you get your Windows Media Player on here, everything they're used to. But we've got these nice Metro apps too. We've got games, which is linked to Xbox games right here, and also to games that will play in the modern UI. We've got weather, we've got news, really graphically pleasing stuff here. So if you're wondering, why would I just not use this in desktop mode all the time? Well, because this is really just a stunning way to consume content. And this is the standard motif for the UI. You go from live tiles, side scrolling, and everything has a very magazine-like presentation. This is the built-in news application. So if you want to read something, just tap over here. If you want to scroll through and maybe read about something else that's going on. Say we're interested in this article right here. There it is. Gorgeous stuff. Lenovo preload software. In fact, they take up a decent amount of the 120 gig SSD with some of their preloads. You can see we've got McAfee Security Advisor on here. eBay is really just a shortcut to eBay. Kindle is on here. A couple of games and some of their software settings for trackpad and whether or not you want this thing to automatically flip the display when you rotate it. I don't know why you wouldn't want it to do that then again. Evernote is also preloaded on here. So out of your 128 gig SSD, there's only about 68 gigs available. Not too much. Makes you think maybe you want to get that 256 gig upgrade if you can afford it. Again, this is full Windows, so you can use Skype, or you can get the Skype that's available for the modern UI here if you don't want to go back into your desktop to use it. We've got a basic camera application for the front video chat camera. Music players, video player, you can play 1080p MPEG-4 based video, which means MPEG-4, iTunes format, but without the DRM if you want to play it through this player right here, and AVI files, and if you do use iTunes, you can install iTunes on it, along with anything else that you want. So certainly for the Windows 8 machines that are launching on October 26th, this is one of the most interesting. This is one of the ones that has been the most eye-catching for folks. This and the Asus Tai Chi and the Asus VivoBook, probably with the detachable transformer-style keyboard, and Samsung's detachable transformer style are the most interesting, and the fact that it has the touchscreen, but a transformable way of using it as a tablet or just propping it up like an oversized DVD player on your coffee table makes it nice and versatile. Since this is an Ultrabook, there is no built-in optical drive. You can use an external USB optical drive if you want to play CDs or DVDs or install your software. That's pretty much the same story is true for all Ultrabooks, though. So that's the Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga 13. It's available now, starting at $999 with a Core i5 CPU and 128 gig SSD. Certainly a unique Windows 8 notebook/tablet device with the two hinges here, 180-degree swivel. Yes, the keyboard's on the back, right? Is it more practical than the center swivel hinge like the Lenovo ThinkPad Twist? Maybe not so much, but I think some people will find a use for this. And meanwhile, it's just a really gorgeous machine with good specs. Like it a lot. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.